it was the rain, not the beer. Fantastic. I first came here in 1952. The flora of Kent was then being written over the very young, learning botanist, and I came with Francis Rowe to this very place. And it was a working coal mine in those days. And the amount of wildlife that was here was fantastic. And I have walked around and I already counted 47 species of plants and lots of mosses and lichens which were there in the old days. And now it is yours. It is your country park. And the future of it is in your hands just as much as it's been in the hands of the sponsors. So what I'd like to do is have one real big cheer for those sponsors, because without them we wouldn't be here today. Hear it! We are standing on a very, very important bit of the heritage of the world. When this coal was being laid down, we were back in Jurassic times. And yes, there were dinosaurs stalking round. It was a topic. It was very, very humid. And so humid that when the big trees, they weren't trees in those days, they were giant ferns, came toppling down, there was no oxygen in the water, and therefore they formed the coal, which Betty Sanger coal mine was actually based on, the well. If we'd have been sitting here, or standing here, only 12,000 years ago, 13,000 years ago, we would have just gone through one of the most catastrophic periods in the history of the world. An enormous meteorite, and this information only just come out in the scientific literature over the last 2 weeks. 2 months. This enormous meteorite was heading for the Earth, and as it came down it broke up into thousands of pieces, and much of the world was set on fire. I'm only talking about 13,000, not million, 13,000 years ago. And it was during that period that many of the big animals right the way across the world were actually wiped out. Because with that impact, there was so much dust put up into the atmosphere that really very, very few crops could go or plants could go, and the big animals starved. Now, up until this point, we've actually thought that was because of people that come along and learned to kill those big animals. But now we know that we had this catastrophic thing. But we came out of the Ice Age about 10,000 years ago, and if we'd have been standing here then, there would have been mammoths wandering about. There would have been reindeer wandering about. Only 10,000 years ago. And here we are, after 10,000 years of people coming back to this lump of real estate and putting it back into some sort of worthy order. First of all, it was Mother Nature. Mother Nature covered the whole of the vineyards except small parts up in the northwest with trees. Wonderful, wonderful forest. And then the Neolithic farmers first came here, and they found a stone that was hard enough so they could sharpen it and start to chop trees down. And it was the Neolithic farmers that created the landscape of Kent, the landscape of the whole of the vineyards. And then we come to the period when people found out that there was coal underneath this thing and began to recycle the landscape once again. And at the end of that period of the colliery, and it was damn hard work, I could talk to the people who worked down in the mine, it was back-breaking stuff. I've done a day down a mine, laying on my back, trying to cut out a 9-inch seam of coal. Very, very hard work. But that's what kept us warm during the during my childhood in the East End of London. And my granny used to come down to Kent to do hop picking throughout the summer. That was their only summer holiday they had. So all this information and all this respect for this amazing landscape is inside me. And now a group of people who cared enough to say, well, we have a large chunk of real estate full of capabilities. what are we going to do with them? And I think they've done an amazing job to build all these different parts of the heritage into the story, starting with the coal, taking us back to those Jurassic times. And your children and your great-great-grandchildren will be able to come here and actually pick up the fossils. They're still out there to be studied. See how this changes as more and more and more of the native plants begin to grow. And the planting, it's fantastic. You can see as you go around it, you can identify, and you all should be able to identify every tree they put in, because they're all native trees. They were trees which have been growing on this patch for at least 8,000 years. And they're there in their protective things, and they will slowly, and they'll live a lot longer than certainly I will, a lot longer than all the blue-haired insects in this thing will live. But they will pass that heritage on to children. And what I hope is that they will get in touch, the people who take in their hands the care of this place, they will get in touch with all the schools and bring them here and see how the things are changing. And if they, and it can only be where they get the management right, then it will be a wonderful, wonderful place for their children and great-grandchildren. I travel around the world by email, because it doesn't leave a very big carbon footprint around, but also by every other form of transport. And wherever I go, I meet people just like you, and they are very, very worried, because the things, the values and the things their parents and their grandparents took for granted are disappearing. And instead of just sitting back and letting them disappear, they're getting together. And I call it the Green Renaissance. The original Renaissance, remember, as we came out of the dark ages of Europe, built on those beautiful and wonderful cathedrals, the most wonderful buildings in the world, the fantastic music, fantastic art, fantastic three-dimensional art. And the new Renaissance is a Green Renaissance, and all we need is the right seed in the right people's mind, and the right seed put back in the earth, however that earth has been damaged in the past by wrong or by misuse. And it's happening, and it's very, very exciting. You are part of the Green Renaissance, and I can't think of a better place. Europe's not far over there. The Channel, the English Channel is there. It wasn't there 8,000 years ago, because of course we were then joined to Europe. And as the glaciers melted, up came the water and cut us off. And weren't we lucky during the last two periods of warfare? So think of the heritage in your hand and think of the future. And only you can make it work. It's your country park. It's your bit of real estate. If you don't use it and use it wisely, then it will go away. Ladies and gentlemen, I want another big cheer, and a real big cheer is for you lot, the local people, with this fantastic park in their hands for their children, their grandchildren's futures. Is it? I now declare this amazing place open for the world to see what Kent can do when it really wants to do it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, David, for being here today to open this park. There's just, following on what David just said, there's something that's very important I want to talk about now. Is we've been running a local competition for all the local stores here, and we've got the two winners of the competition, and this logo that they've created will be put in the temporary visitor centre, which will be open next week, and we will put it in the permanent visitor centre as a brand. And I'd like David to come and introduce the two young ladies that have won this competition. First of all, David, if you could come back, that'd be great. The first winner, which is the infant winner, is a young lady called Anthea Llewellyn Jones. She's age 7 and she's from Hope Primary School.